Good evening. The September 22nd, 2021 monthly meeting at the Dickinson County School Board is now in session. For the record, I'd like to recognize that all of our school board members except Mr. Hackney, and also present is Tanya Baker, Board Clerk, and Mrs. Robinson, Division Superintendent. Mr. Hackney has a family emergency, and School Board Attorney Scott Mullins is unable to attend.
And Mr. Chair, Dr. Lyle is on his way.
Thank you. At this time, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, we have the agenda for tonight's meeting. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, we would like to add item K, discussion of quarantine days for students, to the agenda, please.
Okay, do we need a motion to do that?
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then we need to approve the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That brings us to public comment. Mr. Hicks, will you please read the guidelines for public comment?
A period of time for public comment will be designated on the meeting agenda during which the public may comment on issues related to public education. The Dickinson County School Board believes that citizens of the county should be heard and that this is an acceptable format for receiving public comment. After the public comment section of the meeting is closed, the public shall not be allowed to participate in general board member discussions regarding agenda items. Public participation with the board members regarding agenda items can be disruptive, and the practice is prohibited by Robert's Rules of Order. It is the desire of the school board to treat each member of the public fairly and equally. Allowing one individual to participate while excluding others is unfair. The board may hold such public hearings as may be necessary to allow the public to more fully express their concerns, or the board may place the public comment section of any meeting at the end of the meeting to allow additional public comments. While we do not wish to restrict the free expression of opinion, we feel that certain restrictions may be necessary so that order and reasonable standards of decorum may be maintained. We ask that the following standards be adhered to. The speaker will be recognized by the chair. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. Speakers will refrain from the use of vulgarity or profanity and will avoid negative or embarrassing comments directed towards specific children or students. Board members should not respond to issues presented by speakers unless clarification is necessary. Matters of concern raised under public comment will be referred to the proper official for investigation and future board consideration if necessary.
Thank you. Mrs. Martin, will you be our timekeeper? For public comment, we'd like to recognize Kathy Music with VPE.
Good evening, Chairman Mullins, Mrs. Robinson, members of the board. As he said, my name is Kathy Music, and I'm the regional representative for Virginia Professional Educators. And I guess there's two things I wanted to speak to you about. I'm so glad to see on the agenda the emergency relief plan for teachers, those that have to be quarantined or have COVID. I know, as this year started, we were so hopeful it was going to be a more normal year, and it is to a point, but in talking to teachers, there are so many stresses. Last year that was already covered because of the things that were going, that if you had to be quarantined, you didn't have to worry about your sick days being gone, and there's just a lot. And as we all know, as most of you that have been around education, there's a lot of I guess, disagreement in our society today about whether to wear a mask, whether not to wear a mask. There's just so much. And the classroom it gets all that. as a teacher, you see all of that. And so they've got those added stresses plus that. So, I commend you for that being on the agenda, and I hope that you consider passing that to help your teachers take one more thing that they don't have to worry about off. Also, the organization that I work for, the fall submission for our grants is November 15th, and I just wanted to remind you of that. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. I know you have heard a lot these last few weeks about a lot of different things, and I know it's a difficult time for all of us, so thank you for having tough skin and for all that you do for the teachers and the students of Dickinson County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Music.
And Ms. Phyllis Mullins with the DEA.
Good evening. I too am very glad to see the sick leave for quarantine and COVID. As a teacher who has been around for quite a while, I have days, but there are plenty who do not. And I know they are very worried. I've been contacted and they are concerned about having lost days or getting ready to lose, if they should have to lose their days. And unfortunately, this thing is not going away. As much as we would want it to go away, I have a feeling COVID's going to be around for a while. And we have staff members who have children and spouses, and they don't need that added stress of worrying, because we have enough stress in the classroom trying to keep up with the mask, trying to keep up with the cleaning and everything. So I really appreciate the fact that you are looking at this, and I hope that you seriously consider it. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Gotcha. Our next agenda item is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes, approval of monthly bills, discussion of school activity funds, approval of field trips, approval of elementary school construction invoices, and the approval of the bank reconciliation documents. Any questions or discussion on the consent agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our next agenda item is information for the school board. Mrs. Robinson?
Thank you. And board members, it's good to see field trips again on the agenda. I think it's been probably about 18 months since we've had field trips. These are band field trips, and where our band will compete in competitions in the regions. We're very glad to see those competitions, our students participating in competitions. The only information for the board is, of course, the Virtual Conference Education Foundation Workshop, which is November the 9th. It's a virtual workshop, and you're certainly invited to register. If you need any assistance with that, please do not hesitate to call Tanya Baker, and she will be more than glad to help you with that. Dates to remember, September 23rd, VSBA just legislative advocacy, and then November 17th through the 19th, the VSBA annual convention. So that will be in person, and that is in Williamsburg, and that's an excellent conference. I know that Dr. Lyle tries to attend each year, and many of us do, and it's a very worthwhile agenda item in attendance. So thank you, sir. That is all information for the board.
I apologize to all for my tardiness. I took a shower and had plenty of time, so I sat down in a chair and next thing I know, someone said, "Are you here?"
Yes, sir, I understand. It's good to have you with us, sir.
Mrs. Robinson, will you please tell us about good news from our schools?
And I'm going to ask Ms. Martin, are you prepared to discuss the attendance? I am. All right, great. Ladies and gentlemen, and board members, as of August 31st, 2021, the student enrollment was 1912, and that's a decrease of 19 children since May, June of 2021. So while we don't want to lose any students at all, we have had summer months where we've lost 50, 60, and 70 children. So we feel that that's a number that is manageable for us. You see before you what Mrs. Martin has prepared, and information regarding the attendance, and she'll go through that with you at this time. Ms. Martin?
Good afternoon. If you will look, I tried to do a summary for you because I printed off some reports and that sort of thing, but I wanted to summarize it as well. So for this school year, and this does run through the 31st of August, we're at, if you count in-person, virtual, and then our pre-K or postgraduate, we're at 2008. This time last year, we were at 2030. So that's, it's a little disheartening, but I think we're fine. If you looking at the trend now, we're actually up as of today, but again, it's through August 30th. We did have 40 withdrawals, and I tried to break it out into whether it went local to within our region or out of state or were dropouts, and you see that. And then we did have some new enrollments as well. We had 35 students come from a local school, whether it's Russell County, Wise County, Buchanan County, that sort of thing. We had 19 from out of state, 3 from detention, and then 5 back from homeschool. Looking at the percentages for the month, Irvington Elementary School had the best percentage for the month of August at 92.5. Clintwood Elementary School had 91.5. So, hopefully that'll get up, and once we get quarantines and that sort of thing underway, or out of the way, I guess I should say, then hopefully those numbers will come up a little bit. Is there anything in the packet that you had questions about, or? Our virtual numbers seem to, depends on the day of the week. One day we'll have 2 or 3 who want to go back to regular class, or we've had a couple that we've had to do some extenuating circumstances with to put back in virtual. So that number is the reason why that's jumping around a little bit.
And currently, Ms. Martin, it's at 63?
It's at 63.
Thank you.
And it's not listed here, but our homeschool numbers are the same. They're sort of fluctuating back and forth. But there is a significant increase from last year's homeschool. Any questions or anything I can try to explain for you, or I guess after you look at these numbers so long, they all start jumbling together.
Mrs. Martin has related that several of parents who have gone homeschool, it's because of their fear with COVID, and have stated that when things settle down, they will have their students return. So that's also good to know.
Okay, if there's no questions, then I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Our next agenda item is update on the new elementary school. Mrs. Robinson?
And this is when I get to invite Tim Burge. This is kind of the highlight of the meeting. You have a report before you that I've included by your name, and so, and we actually have the PowerPoint presentation, so we're excited.
Yep, we got a PowerPoint, then we got a video.
Mr. Burge, always good to see you, sir.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Well, construction is still continuing to progress well. Walls are continuing to go up. Installation of the steel bar joist has started. They actually started installing the bar joist in the gym today. Hope I can read without them things on. The mason's been laying walls up so that we can set steel. Area, like I said, the kitchen, the bar joists are set. They started setting them in the cafeteria this week. The walls continue to go up in the office area. Got it. Then there's the site work is continuing to progress. They're putting in storm lines in the parking lot. AEP has now started rerouting the power so we can finish up the storm. We don't have too many more structures to set for the storm, but we got to get the electric line rerouted before we can do that work. The budget's still in good shape. We issued purchase orders this month for technology and interactive boards, phones, so they have been ordered. If we don't order them, I'm afraid we may not get them on time. And then we are continuing to work with planning for the FF&E. Just a little note, I was at the football game Friday night. I hadn't missed any, but I will miss this Friday. I'm going to be out of town, but it was great to have sound system there and hearing the sound come out and where you could hear what was really going on. So that was a good thing that has been done here this year. Let's go look at the video, the clip. This is, we can walk through the pictures here. As you can see there on the left, that's where we were last month. And over here on the right, you can see where we are now. You can see the gym walls are up there. The bar joists are set in the kitchen. Next. This is more towards the office area. You can see where we were last month. You see the guidance area. The walls are up there, that tall section, and they will be pouring that most likely next week. The block walls are continuing to come up down the hallway there. Next. This is what I call the classroom wing. Not a lot of change there. We did lay some block walls this month down through the hallway. Next. It's just a couple pictures. There's a bar joist in the kitchen. Next. This is looking, let me think where I'm at here now. Oh, that's the cafeteria. This end here where you're looking in, that'll all be glass. Next. Here's some more pictures of the area. Next. This is, see the guys laying block walls up? That is actually, the one on the right there is kind of the corridor wall. The one on the left that they're working on, that is actually the wall for the mechanical room, and the gym wall is about 10 or so feet over there from it. Next. Here we got a little bit more wall to lay here so they can set the bar joists. They should be working on that. Got rained out today, of course, but they'll be laying that wall up so we can set the bar joists in the art room and the media center and the multipurpose room. Next. And this is just a picture of a storm structure they've been putting in. As you can see, it's quite a lot of dirt and rock been moved out of there. All right. Any questions on the report before I show the video?
I know that the board would like to schedule a time to visit, and, but today, of course, it was raining and muddy, and so, but hopefully soon,
Okay.
we'll do
Glad
that,
to-
Mr. Burge, and we'll call you so
We'll
that
be
you can
glad
give
to
us a
set it up.
tour.
We'll be glad to set it up. So this is a video from one of the cameras. It's pretty much almost going to be obsolete here pretty soon. This is when we started at the last board meeting going up through today. And it's, the camera's not going to do us a lot of good, though, pretty soon, other than putting this outside on.
It's
You
amazing.
can see the crane, pumps, all that stuff going on. They're laying, see, they laid the brickledge there. They did that last week, setting bar joists this week. So that's where we are now on the project. Are there any questions? If not, I look forward to doing the tour with you and
We're looking forward to it, too.
see what happens in the next month.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions at all, or, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burge. Thank you for being with us.
And next is going to be the discussion of the emergency paid sick leave request. Mrs. Robinson, any questions or discussion?
As we, last month, Mr. Mullins and board members, the board requested administration review the emergency paid sick leave and its potential implementation for the 2021-2022 school year. As I shared with you, our analysis, we would again begin to review that, and our analysis indicated that the total wages paid in emergency paid sick leave from April the 1st, 2020 to April the 30th, 2021 was $64,457.66. Of course, the associated FICA was $4,931.01. So the total cost of the COVID leave for our employees from April the 1st, 2020 to April the 30th, 2021 was $69,388.67, and that was for 11 months. The eligible amount for reimbursement through ESSER 1 or ESSER 2 is $66,222.32, and then the amount paid by DCPS for FICA, which is not eligible to be for ESSER 1 or ESSER 2, is $3,166.65. The amount budgeted in ESSER 1 for the emergency paid leave was $45,000, as so you can see that that exceeds the total cost of the COVID leave. The amount can be revised into ESSER 2 budget to be reimbursed for the $21,222.32. So any questions on those? I know that I've thrown a lot of numbers there, so any questions or discussion regarding those numbers? That was our total payment cost for the emergency paid leave for last year. Just some background information on that. The background information on that, as you know, our employees were granted last year the emergency paid leave because vaccinations were not available, and so that was a federal mandate with the emergency paid leave. This year, this year, if the school board does approve the emergency paid leave, based on the averages from the prior year, we are estimating an additional $6,500 per month for August through December, or approximately $32,500 would need to be diverted from other budgeted issues. So the $32,500 would be from our current budget, and it would be diverted from other budget items. As we looked at the emergency paid leave, these are some of the recommendations that we have for the board. If the board were to approve the emergency paid leave, it would be absences effective from August 1st through December the 17th, 2021. Employees would be eligible to receive a maximum of 10 days during this time period only. Staff members who test positive for COVID-19 with documentation would be eligible for 10 days of emergency paid leave. Staff members who had to quarantine would be eligible for 5 days of emergency paid sick leave, and our employees can test after the 5th day, and if negative, can return to work on day 7 or 8, or when they get their test back. If a staff member after the 5th day are eligible for, are positive, then they would be eligible for 5 additional days. We asked the board's consideration that the emergency paid sick leave would not extend after December the 17th. The vaccinations have now been approved by the FDA, and so we hope and encourage our employees and our community to consider the vaccination and the positive impact that it would have for our children who have to quarantine or are sick. And then a form would be completed by eligible staff regarding the paid leave request. So these are our recommendations for the board's consideration. I'll certainly entertain questions or any discussion that the board may like to have. The board members always, and while you're looking at questions, the board members always ask what our neighbors are doing. As of today, out of 19 counties, I think there are 12 who have stated that they're not or have not implemented the emergency paid leave. There are 2 counties at this time that have implemented it to December the 2021, and that is Scott County and Buchanan County. So I didn't get to hear from all of our counties, but out of the 19, 12 have stated that as of this time, they have not implemented the emergency paid leave. So I wanted to share that with you.
I personally think we ought to go ahead and extend it till December, and it, in a way, kind of snuck up on us, and I think that would be the fair thing to do.
Yes, sir.
If appropriate, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So we will begin with the emergency paid leave immediately. We will have the forms. We will share this with our employees so that they can do that. And one thing that you may have heard also, some of our employees, our bus drivers, we're having several cases of COVID with employees right now. And we're having a difficult time manning buses, custodians, getting substitutes. It's just been a difficult time. And so I'd just like to thank, I know that our bus drivers have stepped up, and they're taking more children home because we can't find bus drivers to do second runs or other runs. I know our custodians sometimes are doing the job of 2 or 3 people because substitutes are not available when custodians are sick. The same thing for our cooks. I know Miss Compton comes by to see me quite often, and it's difficult to find, cooks. Teachers, there are teachers that have to be out, and other teachers are covering their classes because of lack of that. So right now, it's just a very difficult time. I want to thank all of our employees who are stepping up, who are going beyond the extra mile. We hope that we can recognize these employees later this year. We're limited, of course, because of our funding, but we felt after the board's direction that the emergency paid leave was something that the board wanted us to look at and try to bring recommendations to you. So just wanted to, again, just thank all of our staff. Everyone is working and going beyond the extra mile and beyond, and we recognize that. And I just would like to take this opportunity to commend each of them and to recognize them to you. Thank you.
So that brings us down to our next agenda item is approval of the VSBA revised policy, DCPS policy, the EFB, food service, and GAA. Mrs. Martin?
Thank you. We have two this month. The first one is food services, and I believe this is yellow. Thank you, Tanya, for doing that for me. If you look on page 2 of the EFB policy, the change that was made to this policy is under the subtitle that says unpaid meal charges, and we added the paragraph that says under the community eligibility program there are no charges, and then that paragraph right there was all that was added to the policy. And it was just basically to represent the comprehensive community eligibility program. I always say that a little different. So that one was there. On the second one, which is the GAA, that one, if you turn to page 2 as well, the first 2 paragraphs, in lieu of overtime compensation, that was re-added. It was taken out about 2 months ago. I believe you recall this policy when we talked about it a couple of months ago. That paragraph was taken out 2 months ago. When they put it back in, it's the exact same policy from before, or the paragraph from before. In lieu of overtime compensation, non-exempt employees may receive compensatory time of or at a rate of not less than 1 1/2 hours for each hour of overtime worked. If such compensatory time is, and then further, if you go down to the next paragraph, employees will be allowed to use compensatory time within a reasonable period of time. That paragraph was also re-entered or reapplied to the policy. Give you just a second to read through those, and then I ask for your questions, comments, and then hopefully an approval to make these changes.
Any questions or discussion?
No further questions. I would like to request an approval or a vote on it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the revisions?
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Our next agenda item is approval of the DCPS Child Nutrition Program Procurement Plan. Mrs. Taylor?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. A procurement review was completed in early 2021, and that was done by the CNR Procurement Review Team. They recommended that Dickinson County Public Schools update our procurement plan. It was last updated in 2018. There were some minor changes involved, including what vendors had been approved for the procurement process and any terms or conditions that may apply. Just want to reiterate, it was a recommendation, it was not a finding. We did have good results from that review. The procurement plan, of course, is not a policy. It is a living document that just serves as your general plan. So it's just meant to be updated whenever changes do occur. The version that you received, this updated version, was completed by Ms. Deborah Compton, our food service coordinator. It reflects current information as to our procurement plan, Dickinson County Public Schools Food Services. Do you have any questions about that plan? I do believe Ms. Compton is here as well. If there were any details regarding the plan, any questions on those? I'm sure she would be willing to answer those if you had them, but if not, we just need this approved so we can put it in our file and move forward.
Any discussion? Do we have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Mrs. Robinson, would you please discuss our next agenda item, discussion of the quarantine days for students?
Yes, sir, and if you don't mind passing that to our board members. Thank you, sir. Sorry for the problem. I think it was in our August school board meeting that we were talking about the VISTA program, where we will be able to provide testing for free of charge to our students and our staff. We are one of 38 school divisions in the state of Virginia who entered into that agreement with the Virginia Health Department in, I want to say in early July, late June. And we've heard we now have a vendor that's been assigned to Dickinson County. They will be here next week to begin with the pool testing. But one of the aspects of this program, which has been wonderful, is that we will have diagnostic test sent to us either last of this week or the first of next week. So the diagnostic test, there are many of our citizens and our children, have to go urgent care, other places, some out of the county to be tested, but we will be able to give these tests in each of our schools. With that change, then we looked at and considered our days of quarantine. Because of the low percentage of vaccination in our area, the health department has strongly recommended for Dickinson County 14 days of quarantine. But with this testing available now, we are able to look at several options. And I have those options listed for the board for your consideration. Again, the school division's participation of VISTA and the availability of COVID free for all of our students and staff at no cost. We may now be able to use the 10-day quarantine option. So if you please consider the following recommendations for your consideration. In the event that a student has to quarantine, and again, let me say this, if a student has COVID, they have to be out 10 days. That's for staff and students. But quarantine for students does have options. The first option for the board's consideration is that we remain with the 14-day recommended and preferred quarantine period. Now, what we've heard from our parents, our community members, is that this causes a great deal of hardship for our students, our staff, families. Children want to be back at school. They wonder why they have to be out 14 days and then return 15 days. There's also that instructional time, and so there's a lot of legitimate reasons why the 14 days has been an issue of conflict for our community and our parents. So that is option one. Option two, with the implementation of VISTA and free testing opportunities in our schools, one of the recommendations is that students can test in our schools on day 10 and then return to school on day 11 or day 12 if the results are negative. This additional testing on day 10 just provides another layer of protection for all of our students and for our staff. We have had, as I've mentioned to you, we have had cases where a child will begin to exhibit symptoms on day 12 or day 13. The letters that we sent home, we've had several cases of students that are in quarantine, and then they test positive. So with the testing on day 10, if the tests are negative, then that student may come back on day 11 and 12. And the day 11 and 12 would be when the results would be back. What we are hearing from VISTA is, and from the vendor, is that we will have the results in 24 hours. So if the student comes, to the school, is in the car, the nurse can quickly do the diagnostic testing. It may be that we will have the results by the next morning, and then we can contact the student and say, you're negative, you can come back to school. So again, that would save at least 2 or 3 days of quarantine time for the students and for the families. Another option would be, so in option 2, we would ask and require testing of students. In option 3, for that layer of protection. But in option 3, students can return to school on day 11 if they exhibit no symptoms. Testing on day 10 is strongly recommended, but would not be required. And so those are the 3 options that we have for the board's consideration. And as we look at reducing the number of quarantine days for our students, but yet putting some things in place that we hope will continue to keep the quarantine students, but also all of our students and staff in a safer environment. So questions from the board, discussion items?
I think option 2 would be the preferred option, although option 3 would be better than current, in my opinion. I notice option 3 says if they have no symptoms. I assume that's self-reported symptoms.
Yes, sir, that would be self-screening.
And that would be the reason I would suggest option 2. And I would make that motion unless there's other discussions.
Other discussion from the board?
So we have a motion.
I think there may be other discussion.
I mean, I feel like that being able to reclaim 4 days of instruction would be huge for our students, definitely the hardship on their parents, and would relieve some on their teachers, I think, as well, not having to do another 4 days of remediation on top of that. Well, I wouldn't have a real issue with option 3 of no test without symptoms. I kind of would feel better about having a negative test before we come in, especially during this time where we're still having high transmission rate, but that trend seems to be going down. I assume if that continues to go that way, we could always revisit this again.
Absolutely, and thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Hicks, because this is really a changing times. We hope to get to a place where students will be able to test on the 5th day and then come back on the 7th day, okay? But several things have to happen before then. As you said, we are in high transmission. We can encourage now our students to be vaccinated. As you know, FDA has approved or will approve the 5 through 12 soon. And so there's just several things that have to fall into place. But hopefully we are headed toward the 5 to 7 days. Now, in conversations, Mr. Hicks and board members, with the health department directors, the state has appeared to be plateauing, okay, and the numbers are trending down, but Dr. Bissell was very clear to say that our area, it's going to take longer for us to begin to see that trend. So for now, and we may be revisiting this next month, hopefully we will, for the good, but for now, just adding that extra layer of protection may be what is needed, and then especially if it's free, at no cost to our students. None of us want to put another economic hardship on any of our families.
Any more discussion? So do we have a motion?
So move for the option 2.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And we will begin this option as soon as we receive the diagnostic testing. We will certainly inform our parents and our community and our students and our staff that we now have this option available. And we have approximately 250 students that have signed, whose parents have given permission for their child to be tested. So we hope that that number increases because it's a wonderful program and such a opportunity for our children, to return to school safely. Thank you.
This concludes our open session and time for board comment. I guess I'll go first. And it's really good to hear that the rates are down throughout Virginia, and hopefully that's to come here and be able to kind of get back to a case of more normalcy. And it's really good to see Tim Bird here with all the growth of the building of the school, and I really feel good about that as time goes by.
I would apologize again for my late arrival. That was my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Dr. Lau, are you saying there may be another story, sir? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, I'll just say that, I appreciate everything that teachers and bus drivers and all staff are doing at this point in time. I know that it's a difficult process at the moment, dealing with still what's left over from the pandemic. I feel like that it's going to be a good thing to offer this emergency leave for teachers and things. Hopefully it. Looking at it, they have said that the peak or the trend in Virginia, and hopefully here as well, that is supposed to be late September, early October, and let's hope that pans out. Looking at the positivity rates, they seem to be slowly coming down, even though there's high numbers. So hopefully we're headed in the right direction, and hopefully this going through December will take care of our folks at that point in time. So that was really good to do. I think taking a move on this quarantine numbers and being able to cut that down for our students and families for a few days will help that as well. And I hope that we're revisiting this pretty soon, that maybe we can do this without testing those symptoms, because it's moving away. That's my hope. But we've all been hoping for something like this for a long time now. But let's hope that that continues. But I still just appreciate everything everybody does. I know that it's a tough job.
I'd like for everybody to know that we all want our children in school as much as they can be there.
Mr. Rasnick, you might want to speak on your, there you go.
Is it off
There,
or
it's
on?
on. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I said that everyone up here and all of us, together, we want our students to be in school. We want them healthy. We want them protected. We don't write the rules for all these things. I know a lot of people probably think we do. We have national public health officials. We have state public health officials and local. And for my entire career, I worked with those people. I've never seen them tell us anything wrong. They always gave us information and help in dealing with issues of public health. They're our friends. And we certainly are happy to see this 10-day instead of the 14-day. I hope that continues. I wish the emergency pay could have been extended through the whole year and taken the strain off. I know all the families and employees that are strained, the stress is obvious to everyone. For those of us that are parents and grandparents, I know that strain as well. But I know this board will follow the rules as best we can. We'll do what the professionals recommend. Actually, by law, we're required to do those things. A lot of people out here ignore those rules, and they sometimes encourage us to ignore them, but we can't, we will not. We do what's best for children. We do what needs to be done to protect our children and our families and our employees as best we can. I'd like to give a big thank you to all the employees of the schools and to the parents and grandparents for all the people involved. Every person up here knows the stress that you're under, and we all pray that it leaves us soon as possible. I want this demon gone forever. And I would hope that our county would get up to, I think it's up to about 50% now vaccination. I wish we go to 90 in a hurry. I'd rather, when you have 5 out of 10 fully vaccinated, it leaves a broad door open for this pandemic to stay with us. The numbers are trending down, but they could sure be better.
At this time, we will now go into closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711, Paragraph A of the Code of Virginia. There will be a closed meeting for the purpose of, number 1 is employment issues relating to discussion or consideration of specific individuals for employment as part-time aides, substitutes, coaches, FMLA request, resignation, and the division superintendent's evaluation pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1, and 2, student requests for the early graduation pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A2, and 3, to consult with legal counsel regarding the investment of public schools funds associated with school construction and consultation regarding actual or probable litigation, along with consultation regarding specific matters requiring legal advice pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A6, 7, and 8 of the Code of Virginia. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We're now in closed session. motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We're now out of closed session. Mrs. Robinson, will you please read the certification?
Yes, sir. Whereas the Dickinson County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with the Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dickinson County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only the public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia law were discussed, and 2, only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered. Would you please certify?
I certify.
I certify.
I certify.
I certify.
Are there any motions from closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move the approval request for early graduation if the students have completed all requirements necessary.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Is there any other business to discuss?
Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of all personnel decisions as discussed in executive session.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is now adjourned.